The Iran war. It's back. It's back. Nobody really thought that the ceasefire would last. It just never seemed to be in the very best interests of everybody involved. So, that's hilarious, right? I don't know how people were convinced in some way that yeah, Israel and Iran are just going to stop fighting each other and the US is going to get everything they wanted. The MOU that was originally signed by both parties, everything that it pointed towards was Iran won. They beat us back. I mean, everything that they wanted, they got out of the MOU. But it seems like they're not done. Recently, over the last few days, they have s- had missile strikes on two different cargo ships. Drone strikes, I believe, would be more accurate than missile strikes, but still, point stands. Two different cargo ships. The first one, the U.S. kind of looked aside and said, "Look, you can't do this anymore." And trade routes were opened up against the route against Oman instead of the route annexed to Iran. And then the second ship gets hit, and now the US feels that they need to retaliate because they can't allow this to happen anymore. Second ship being a Panama flagged ship that was apparently carrying over 2 million barrels of crude oil, and Iran does a drone assault against them. No casualties as far as that have been reported. Apparently, only one drone actually made contact into the ship's deck. But the US retaliates. They shoot missile strikes against 10 different unique military locations. And now everything's falling apart. Iran's saying that the US broke the MOU by doing this assault. The US is claiming that Iran broke the MOU by assaulting cargo ships. And then on the other side of this, you have Israel who refuses to back down. If you guys remember, or in case you don't know at all, Iran demanded that Israel ceases their activities in Lebanon because Lebanon right now is housing the Hezbollah reported terrorist group who are extremely anti-Israeli, and Israel's saying, no, we will not stop this assault. Israel's biggest interest here is to secure the southern border with Lebanon, so they're not stopping. Iran's upset about that. Iran's upset that we launched multiple strikes against them. The US is completely out of control in this situation where we're having our cargo ships hit. Now we're having to fire retaliatory missiles, and Iran just doesn't seem to care. And why don't they care, right? Because you'd imagine a nation smaller like Iran would see that they've won the conflict against a much greater power, and they would take what they can get and do their very best to not reinvigorate the beast. But instead, it's very clear that they don't view the US as a legitimate threat, and because of this, instead of actually ceasing their operations, they're continuing to aggravate it. Now, why do they want to do this? A couple reasons. One, they are splitting apart the US and Israel right now. They understand that the US, we're running out of time. We have our 2026 elections, and they know that Trump needs to change policy in order to ensure Republican victory in 2026, which is incredibly unlikely at this point. So Iran wants to continue to push us into continuing to engage to make the US population view Israel even less favorably. I mean, that's what this whole conflict has been to this point. It has been people waking up to everything that Israel is doing. So they are continuing this conflict to drive a wedge between the United States and Israel. They also are trying to get more out of the deal right now because every side has different interests here. Iran's biggest interest, they want to drive the wedge between the United States and Israel, as I said a couple of times now. Israel has a major interest in getting rid of the Hezbollah threat and securing the southern Lebanon border. The Lebanese don't want this. The Lebanese politicians have been trying to remove Hezbollah, but their military force is nowhere near the capabilities of the Hezbollah threat. So they are unable to do anything alone. People don't actually support this because they view Hezbollah as being the only thing that is preventing a complete takeover from the Israeli nation, and they see what's happened in Gaza, and they understand. I mean, Israel controls the southern Lebanese front, and all of a sudden, South Lebanon becomes New Gaza. And that's not something that is obviously in the interest of the Lebanese people. Then the United States' biggest interest is actually having something to show from this conflict. They need to do something big, and that big something could look something like completely getting rid of the Iranian nuclear program, but we are failing to even do that. because recent Trump statements have made it very clear that he's not even interested anymore in removing their nuclear program. Instead, the deal that they're going for is just making it supervised. That's all the US can even gain out of this at this point, and it's no wonder that this war is so unfavorable among the people. I mean, we have United States or excuse me, we have United States members who are going into conflict over there, putting their lives on the line. Why? Because what? We don't want them to have a nuclear arsenal, which is reasonable. It's reasonable. I mean, I don't want Iran to have nukes, but you also have to understand that the only reason they even want a nuclear arsenal is because Israel is armed. Israel is nuclear armed, and right now Iran is trying to balance out the power. It's the same reason Iran won't get rid of Hezbollah in Lebanon, because they need this balance of power of continued pressure on Israel to ensure that they don't completely undermine everybody else in the Middle East. That's the entire point of this conflict. It's all a balance of power thing. Iran wants to be somebody who can legitimately completely compete with Israel even with their US backing. And then the US people start to wonder, why is the United States even backing Israel, right? I mean, even the nuclear program that is a major cause for this conflict that's been going on, not just currently, but over pretty much since the creation of Israel. I mean, they stole the uranium to create their nuclear program. It's all stolen. Everything about Israel is stolen from other people. Their land stolen from the Palestinians, their nuclear program stolen, everything about them. And they've always been pretty obviously anti-United States best interest. They use the US for their best interest. That's why they take down the USS Liberty. That's why we have everything with the Twin Towers and 9/11, because Israel is very, very evidently against the United States best interest. Which makes sense. They're a foreign power. They're going to do what is in their nation's best interests. And for some reason, our politicians also seem to care about their best interests over ours. But what's the future of this conflict? What's going to happen next? Well, it's remaining incredibly uncertain. Likely, we are going to have a exact continuation of what we've seen now. No full-scale war, of course, the US people would never back such a thing, but instead just trading strikes and putting off a legitimate long-term peace plan for the future through continued small-scale assaults. That's what both parties seem to be doing right now. And it's clear why. It's very clear why this is happening. Netanyahu, it's very, very crucial for him to not let this war end. He has massive interest in not letting it end because he needs something to show from this before his election cycle, which is coming up later this year. And what he can get out of this is securing southern Lebanon. That's his biggest prize right now. And if he can do that, maybe he can be the strong arm that Israel voted him into office to be and what he's represented over a great deal of time. It's what the Israeli people want. And then, yeah, so we have all of that going on. And then Iran just continuing it, completely continuing it. But yeah, it's unlikely that anything's going to become clear in the coming days. Unfortunately, we seem to be in a complete position where we can't trust anything at all. Our president is saying that he is planning to have a meeting with Iran officials tomorrow, is what he's reporting, while Iran officials are saying the opposite. They're saying no such meeting is planned. They are completely on completely different sides of the board right now. There is no mutual understanding going on. So something clearly has to change in this situation fast if a peace deal is going to be remotely possible. So that's certainly going to be a big deal here.